Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's word comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. And I need to say that it gives me great pleasure to bring God's word to the people. Proclaiming Christ crucified. I have affectionately renamed it Faith. Faith. Some of us may have experienced periods of unbelief in the gospel of Jesus Christ. We may have thought with our human mind that there's no way anyone can be raised from the dead. Our human minds and bodies tell us that this is impossible. Our human eyes tell us we must see it to believe it. Every year we hear a sermon or two about Jesus Christ, how he was chastised, ridiculed, horribly put to death by crucifixion on a cross, and then buried. It doesn't take much for us to believe or even imagining this happening to Jesus. We can put a period behind it and go on with our lives. But that's not the end of the story. The ending of the story is where some of us might run into trouble. That is, we don't believe that Jesus got up from the grave. We don't believe that Jesus spoke to his disciples, comforted Mary Magdalene, and gave instruction to the disciples to spread the news that he is alive and well. As we read the text in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 1 through 5, we learn that Paul is speaking to the church about Jesus Christ and may be almost apologizing for speaking with such boldness and wisdom. Someone in the church may have challenged Paul because he spoke about Jesus with knowledge and boldness. I can imagine someone saying to him, "How do you know all of this, all these things you're telling us? Were you there?" Paul appears to be telling the church not to look at him, but focus on God that is in him and the God that is supplying him with wisdom and power to speak. He tells the church to have faith and to trust that faith doesn't rely on what you hear or see. Faith comes from the power of God, the power to do anything, like raising Jesus from the grave. So what does this mean for us? Well, I am so very glad you asked. It could mean that our unbelief is tied to our measure of faith. I'll say that again. It could mean that our unbelief is tied to our measure of faith. After all, faith has no evidence. It's not seen or predicated on facts. It's hope that is restored fresh each day as we await the outcome of a situation. So that's faith. It could mean that our unbelief is the human part of us that challenges faith because our faith isn't a part of our flesh. Well, until we meet again, stay safe and love your family.